Dr. Helen Marsden first saw Daniel Chen through the observation window on a gray April morning in 1987. The boy sat at a small table, arranging wooden blocks in rows, red, blue, yellow, green, with mechanical precision. He'd made the same pattern 17 times that morning. "When did it start?" she asked, without turning around. Robert Chen shifted in his chair behind her. His 4th birthday, August 9th, 1986. He woke up asking for his tricycle. We'd given it away 6 months earlier because he'd learned to ride a two-wheeler. Marsden finally turned to face him. Robert was 42, an engineer at Boeing, but the past 8 months had carved deep lines around his eyes. "And since then?" "Since then, Daniel's been going backward. He's 8 years old, Dr. Marsden. Last month, he forgot how to read. The month before, he couldn't tie his shoes anymore. 2 weeks ago, he asked me what soccer was. He played for 3 years. She'd been practicing pediatric neurology for 17 years at Seattle Children's Hospital. She'd seen degenerative conditions, seizure disorders, traumatic brain injuries, but she'd never seen a child systematically lose abilities in reverse chronological order, newest skills vanishing first, oldest remaining longest. Other physicians, what did they conclude? Robert pulled out a folder thick with medical records. Dr. Patterson thought early Alzheimer's, but the scans didn't match. Dr. Kobayashi suspected metabolic disorder, ran every test, all negative. Dr. Williams suggested psychological trauma. He paused. "Daniel's been in therapy for 4 months. He's gotten worse." Marsden spent an hour reviewing the records. Daniel had been completely normal until his 4th birthday. Then, like a switch had flipped, he began losing skills in precise reverse order from when he'd acquired them. First to go, abilities from age 3.5, riding without training wheels, writing in cursive, complex games. Then skills from age 3, counting past 20, drawing pictures, understanding other people's perspectives. The regression continued, month by month. By November, everything from age 6 was gone. By January, age 5 had vanished. Now, in April, Daniel functioned at a 3-year-old level. And he was still regressing. "Mr. Chen, I'd like to admit Daniel for observation. 2 weeks initially. I can't promise answers, but I can promise thorough documentation." Robert's face showed relief and apprehension. "And if you can't find anything? If you're just another doctor who watches him get worse?" The question stung. "Then at least we'll know more than we do now." Daniel was admitted the next day. His mother, Laura, unpacked his things with careful attention. Familiar pajamas, a worn teddy bear named Mr. Buttons, books she still read to him, though he no longer understood them. The boy was small for 8, physically normal, but moving with the clumsy coordination of a preschooler. When Laura showed him the room, he clapped with toddler-like delight at the toys. When Robert explained Daniel would stay here while doctors helped him, the boy's face crumpled. "I want to go home," he said, speech patterns noticeably simple. "I don't like it here." Over the following days, Marsden conducted comprehensive assessments. Language, motor skills, cognition, memory. She documented everything with meticulous precision. Daniel could speak perhaps 200 words, could walk and run but couldn't hop on one foot, could stack blocks but couldn't complete simple puzzles, could recognize his parents but couldn't remember what he'd eaten for breakfast. Most disturbing, his memories stopped at age 3. Everything after, 2 years of school, friends, experiences, had simply vanished. Marsden consulted colleagues across the country. No one had seen anything similar. She researched every case of childhood regression in medical literature. Nothing matched Daniel's pattern. By day 8, she noticed changes, suggesting continued regression even under observation. Daniel had counted to 10 on day 2. By day 7, he struggled past 7. He'd identified all basic colors on day 3. By day 8, he confused yellow and green. The regression was active, ongoing, accelerating. Dr. James Whitmore, the hospital psychologist, pulled her aside. It's not just cognitive. His emotional development is regressing too. Yesterday, when his mother left, he had a complete meltdown. That's not 3-year-old separation anxiety. That's 18-month terror. How soon until he loses object permanence? Until he can't understand his parents exist when they're not visible? Days, maybe. That evening, Marsden met with Robert and Laura. She didn't soften the news. The regression is continuing. Daniel is losing approximately 1 month of development every 3 to 4 days. He's now functioning at roughly 2.5 years old cognitively, 18 to 24 months emotionally. Laura's hand went to her mouth. Oh, God. If this pattern continues, within 2 weeks, Daniel will function at an infant level. Within a month, he'll be a newborn, Robert finished, voice hollow. Or worse. Can you stop it? Laura asked desperately. We've found no physiological cause to treat. His brain structure is normal. His chemistry is normal. We're observing symptoms without understanding the mechanism. Laura stood abruptly. So we just watch our son disappear? Document him turning into an infant? And then what? What happens when the regression goes past birth? The terrible question hung unanswered in the air. By day 13, Daniel spoke only in single words. Mama. Juice. Home. He could no longer use a spoon, instead eating with his hands. Walking had become unsteady. He fell frequently and preferred crawling. Most heartbreaking, he no longer recognized the nurses who'd cared for him. Each shift change meant encountering strangers. Marsden watched video footage from throughout the day. Morning, Daniel stacked 3 blocks successfully. Afternoon, he couldn't stack 2. Evening, he'd lost interest in blocks entirely, instead mouthing toys randomly. Development running backward in fast motion. At 3 a.m. her phone rang. Patricia, the night nurse. You should come. Daniel is... something's happening. She reached the hospital in 15 minutes. Daniel was screaming with primal infant terror. Laura held him, rocking, but there was something about the cry that chilled Marsden. It was the undifferentiated wail of a newborn. She examined him carefully. His eyes tracked movement, but showed no recognition, no engagement. She said his name clearly, repeatedly. No response. The name that had been his identity meant nothing anymore. Over the next 2 hours, Marsden and her team conducted a complete assessment. Daniel Chen, age 8 years and 8 months, now functioned at a developmental level of 2 to 4 months. He could not recognize faces, respond to his name, control his head reliably, reach purposefully, make vocal sounds except crying, show object permanence, demonstrate any memory, feed himself, or sleep through the night. He could only track movement, startle at sounds, cry when distressed, suck reflexively, and grasp when something touched his palm. Dr. Whitmore pulled her aside. "We're past the point where medical observation is useful. That child needs parents, not researchers. He needs comfort, not developmental assessments." "I know." "Do you? I've watched you document every detail with the precision of someone cataloging a fascinating phenomenon. But he's not a phenomenon. He's a terrified infant who needs to go home." The criticism stung because it was true. "You're right. I'll recommend discharge today." At 9 a.m. she met with the parents. "I'm recommending Daniel go home. Further hospitalization serves no therapeutic purpose." Robert nodded slowly. "What do we need?" "Essentially, you're caring for an infant. Bottles, diapers, safe sleeping space. I can arrange home health support." "And then what?" Laura's voice broke. "We just watch him regress until he's a fetus? Until he's nothing?" "I don't have answers. The regression may stop. It may continue. I don't know." "But you'll keep studying him." Robert's voice held an edge. "Even at home, you'll document his decline." "Only if you want me to." Marsden paused. "I know how this looks, but everything I've documented, if we ever encounter another case like Daniel's, that family will need information. They'll need to know what to expect." "Might help someone someday?" Laura said bitterly. "That's supposed to comfort us?" "No, nothing can comfort you. But if there's even a chance Daniel's suffering could prevent another family's suffering," Robert's voice broke, "then maybe there's some meaning in this nightmare. Come document what happens." Daniel went home on April 30th. Laura carried him, no longer a boy who could walk, but an infant who needed holding. Their house in Ballard had been converted. Daniel's room, once full of books and toys and 8-year-old life, now held a borrowed crib. The walls still showed who he'd been: superhero posters, a growth chart, soccer photos. Laura couldn't remove them yet. The first night was hellish. Daniel woke every 2 hours crying. Robert and Laura took turns holding him, trying to soothe him. Sometimes nothing helped. This was their life now. Marsden made her first home visit on May 3rd. She found exhausted chaos. The house smelled of sour milk and diapers. Laura answered in rumpled clothes, unwashed hair, dark circles under her eyes. "He won't stop crying," Laura said. "Nothing helps." Upstairs, Robert sat rocking Daniel mechanically, his face blank with exhaustion. 3 hours, he said. "I've tried everything." Marsden examined Daniel. His muscle tone was weaker, his head control minimal. His eyes, when they opened, had the unfocused quality of a newborn. "He's regressed further, past newborn. He's showing characteristics of a late-term fetus." "What does that mean?" Laura asked. "In utero, fetuses respond to internal stimuli, but lack external sensory organization. Daniel's experiencing the world that way now. Everything is overwhelming, confusing. They created a womb-like environment, blackout curtains, white noise machine, tight swaddling, warm temperature. The crying gradually subsided." "How long?" Robert asked. "Days instead of weeks now. Maybe hours instead of days soon." "And when he regresses past fetal viability," Laura whispered, "what happens then?" "I don't know. We're beyond medical science now." Marsden's second visit on May 6th found Daniel completely limp, no muscle tone, random, unorganized movements. Feeding required a dropper. He couldn't suck anymore. "I don't think he sees anything," Laura said. "His eyes are open sometimes, but there's nothing there." Marsden tested responses. No reaction to sound, light, touch. No reflexes. Heart rate 180. Too fast for an 8-year-old, normal for a fetus. This was a mid-gestation fetus, exhibiting limited organized behavior appropriate for that developmental stage. "Dr. Marsden," Robert said, "is he going to die?" "Yes. If the regression continues past viability, his body will stop functioning." "When?" "Days, maybe less." Laura broke down. "I already lost my 8-year-old, lost my toddler, lost my baby. Now I'm losing even this last shadow of him." Before leaving, Marsden spoke carefully. "I'm documenting everything. When Daniel dies, I'm going to publish his case. Every neurologist in the world will know about this condition." "Why?" Laura asked. "Because if this happens again, physicians will have a reference point. They'll know what to expect. Maybe someone will figure out how to stop it." "It won't help Daniel," Robert said. "No, nothing will help Daniel, but it might help someone else's child." "Then do it," Laura said. "Make sure he's remembered. Make sure this meant something." At 2:17 a.m. on May 8th, Robert called. "I think Daniel's dying." Marsden arrived in 20 minutes. The house was eerily quiet. Upstairs, Robert and Laura sat beside the crib where Daniel lay. His breathing was barely perceptible. His skin had a translucent, waxy quality. No movements at all. Pulse, weak, thready, too fast to count. "How long?" "About an hour." He just stopped. Daniel had regressed past viability. His body, forced into a developmental state that couldn't exist outside the womb, was shutting down. "Is he suffering?" Laura asked. Marsden checked everything she could assess. "No, he doesn't have the neurological organization to experience pain. He's just fading." They sat together in vigil. At 4:33 a.m., Daniel Chen's breathing stopped. Marsden checked for a pulse. Nothing. Daniel Chen, born August 9, 1978, died May 8, 1987, at age 8 years and 9 months. In 9 months, he had lost 8 years of development, then regressed past the point of existence itself. Laura kissed her son's forehead. "Goodbye, baby. I'm sorry we couldn't stop this." Robert stood silent, tears streaming. Marsden stepped back, giving them privacy. documenting the final moments of the most extraordinary and heartbreaking case she would ever encounter. Dr. Marsden published her study in December 1987. Reverse Developmental Regression, a Case Study, was 47 pages of documentation, charts, photographs, timelines. The medical community responded with praise, skepticism, and hostility in equal measure. Some called it brilliant documentation. Others suggested misdiagnosis. A few accused her of exploitation, of using a dying child for career advancement. That last criticism haunted her. Had she prioritized research over compassion? Had she lost sight of Daniel the child while studying Daniel the case? She didn't have an answer. But over the following years, more cases appeared. Japan, 1989. Germany, 1993. Each followed Daniel's pattern. Each ended in death. Each cited Marsden's work as essential background. In 2015, Dr. Jennifer Park at the NIH used preserved tissue samples, including Daniel's, which Marsden had carefully archived, to identify the genetic mutation causing reverse regression. Park's paper cited Marsden's 1987 study as foundational. Without Dr. Marsden's meticulous documentation and preservation of samples, this discovery would not have been possible. The finding didn't lead to a cure, but it provided understanding, the ability to test for the mutation, to prepare families for what was coming. That year, Marsden received a letter from Laura Chen. "Dear Dr. Marsden, for years I was angry at you, angry that you studied Daniel like a science project instead of a child. But recently I read about Dr. Park's discovery using samples you preserved, about how families with this condition now have information instead of just confusion and terror. Daniel's death meant something because you made sure it was recorded, studied, understood. I still hate what happened. I still miss my son every day. He would have been 36 years old now. But without your work, other families wouldn't have the information we wish we'd had. So thank you. Thank you for making Daniel's life and death mean something beyond our personal tragedy. He was a beautiful child, Dr. Marsden. He loved dinosaurs and ice cream and making his parents laugh. He deserved to grow up. But since he couldn't, at least his suffering wasn't entirely meaningless. Respectfully, Laura Chen." Marsden kept that letter in her desk drawer, reading it when self-doubt crept in. It didn't absolve her, didn't erase the complicated ethics of that case, didn't answer whether she'd balanced research and compassion appropriately. But it reminded her why she'd become a physician, not just to treat individual patients, but to advance knowledge that might help future ones. Sometimes those goals aligned, sometimes they conflicted painfully. Daniel Chen, the boy who forgot forward, who lost his life in reverse, who disappeared piece by piece, represented both the best and worst of medical research. Best, meticulous documentation enabling future understanding. Worst, the uncomfortable reality that understanding came from observing a child's suffering. When Marsden retired in 2018, she was most known for that single case. One patient, observed for 2 weeks in 1987, had defined her career and contributed to a discovery made 3 decades later. On her last day at Seattle Children's Hospital, she visited the 4th-floor neurology wing. The room where Daniel had stayed no longer existed in its original form, but she remembered it. Remembered the boy who played with blocks in reverse order, who cried for a mother he no longer recognized, who regressed past the point of human viability. She remembered Laura's anguish and Robert's grief, and her own conflicted feelings about documentation versus compassion. Daniel Chen had paid the price of advancing medical knowledge with his suffering, and the only redemption, imperfect, incomplete, unsatisfying, was that his tragedy had helped future families prepare for the same nightmare. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. And sometimes, in medicine, something was all you could hope for.